Today, Environment Canada is out with their top weather stories of the year. Leading that list, take a guess. Yep, the record wildfire season. With more on this, I want to bring in Environment Canada senior climatologist Dave Phillips. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Marcia.
So yeah, this fire season was a bad one. How did it compare to others?
Well, you know, Marcia, that was the #1 story last year. I mean, this year, though, we had more area burned, about 12% more area burned. We had 3 times the normal number of fires you have in that province. But that wouldn't have made it #1. What really, I think, made it #1 was the smoke from these fires. I mean, it spread right across the country over into Europe. People were complaining about the tasting it. It was like a smoldering campfire, Calgary was. I mean, here's one statistic that blew my mind. I've been in this business a long time, so it takes a lot to shock me. 480 hours of smoke and haze in Calgary. The normal is 12 hours. It was like smoking in Alberta 3-4 packs of cigarettes. It was more smoky polluted in that province than in Beijing and in Delhi, which are notoriously polluted. So clearly it had a health issue for 10 million Canadians across the country. And so, hey, things can happen in a province 3 or 4 away, but it can affect your health in your area.
Second on your list was the heat wave. Just how warm did it get? Why did it come in at #2?
Well, Marcia, it was a global heat wave from Japan to Britain, from the Arctic Circle to Death Valley, and Canada was just in between. And yes, it was about the 3rd or 4th warmest summer on record. But what shocked me was the fact that it was like a heat advisory from coast to coast, and humid too. We saw records tumble everywhere in Canada. Some temperatures that have stood for 135 years were smashed by this particular heat wave. Very humid. We saw 93 deaths in Quebec from a July that was the warmest on record, and very hot nights. It was, you know, it was really, for some, a hummer, but for others, it was really a bummer of a summer.
Okay. Third, you highlighted the tough growing season in the Canadian prairies. What challenges did farmers face? Well,
they began with it cold. There were cedars frozen in the ground in April, and they like to get on the land quite early. But the biggest stumble for them was the droughts. And you know, Marcia, farmers can deal with droughts. I mean, it's part of the cost of doing business. But to have back-to-back droughts, that's clearly becomes a big issue. I mean, the grain was the size of stubble. And then when they went to harvest it, guess what? Winter arrived. I mean, it was probably, you couldn't manufacture a worse year for farmers than this particular year. They had to sell their cattle early because the hay was so expensive and they couldn't feed. So it was really a big hit. It's surprising that there was any kind of harvest in 2018.
All right, we'll see what 2019 brings. Dave Phillips, always great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Dave is Environment Canada senior climatologist. Happy holidays to you.